it'd be great if we could be here on this planet and get what we wanted immediately with no struggle, with no effort whatsoever. If we could achieve and overcome our obstacles and achieve our goals with zero effort. And in fact, that's how it's supposed to be. You are supposed to be God, which you are God. But you're supposed to have the understanding, and most of the universe does, I believe, that you can instantaneously get what you want by feeling that you already have it, by assuming that you already have it. I think for a lot of the universe and a lot of the life forms in the universe, this is natural. It's completely natural. And I'm talking about civilizations and beings outside of our planet and who have a higher level of evolution within them, a higher density of being. But for us here on this planet, right now, it is a lot more difficult than just that. Not because the process or the mechanics are difficult or more difficult for us, but just because of our predisposition to negativity. And we chose that. We came to Earth out of our longer spiritual selves. We looked at Earth and we said, this place would be such an interesting and fun experience because there's not a lot of other places in the universe where you can learn lessons through suffering and thinking that you can't have what you want, because that doesn't really exist to most other civilizations because they've achieved a certain type of consciousness where that doesn't exist anymore, where there are no problems, because that is the truth of things. There are no problems because you can have whatever you want as long as you assume that you already have it. And even that is sort of a primitive understanding of it, because that's just how we look at it. From not having it, we think we can't have it. Why do we think we can't have it, and why do we have such a hard time with it, and why do most people have zero idea that we're even spiritual beings and that we can even control things with our mind? That's because of the people who are currently controlling the world. And this is a point that I got hung up on for a long time, is sort of like the evil forces controlling the world, in quotation marks, because there is no such thing as evil. There's no such thing as good or bad. It's more negative and positive. And in order to obtain free will, we must, in this particular scenario, in this particular phase of our evolution, we have to have the free will to choose between a negative/positive path. Right? And I'll explain this. Imagine you have, and if anyone knows about some certain conspiracies and stuff, then you'll sort of know what I'm getting at. The evil forces that are controlling the world. I don't want to call them evil, like I said. Just let's say the greedy, the negative-oriented life forms that currently enslave most other life forms. And like I said, this is not something to get hung up on, because you can have anything you want as long as you assume you have it. So they have no control over you because you're God just as much as they are. So you're just as powerful, if not more powerful, because you would probably prefer to choose the positive path versus the negative. And positive is always more powerful than negative because the origin of the universe is love. And that's, love includes hate. Hate doesn't include love so much. Hate is a manifestation of love. You must first love in order to hate. Love comes before hate. Therefore, positive orientation is more polarized. It has more of a pull than negative orientation. But there are forces that brainwash us and control us and condition us through media, through sound, through movies, through music, through lights, through food, through water. They have, I would say, like maybe an 80% hold on everything. These forces have conditioned the world so heavily that we believe that we are here to survive. We believe in these weird primal things, that we're evolved from monkeys, that we're no more than an animal surviving on the planet, and that one day we're going to die and never, ever wake up again, which is pretty ridiculous if you ponder it. If you want to know, pretty much any conspiracy you've ever heard has got to be true, because we live in an infinite universe. If you care to argue with that we don't live in an infinite universe, be my guest and try to disprove that. I don't think it's possible to disprove that we live in an infinite universe. And you may say it's not possible to prove we live in an infinite universe because a single human could never capture infinity. And that's very true. But just think about space. If you took let's just say, for instance, you live forever, and you took a rocket ship out into space, you could just fly into space, whatever, and you just flew and flew and flew and flew and went. Do you think you would go forever, or do you think you'd hit a wall? Do you think there's a wall out in space? And basically, that's what I like to think of when I'm trying to prove infinity. It's just like, do you think that there's a stop, an end? Because at some point, if it's not infinite, there must be a stopping point or an ending point. And I've never seen an ending point to anything. Nothing ever ends. Nothing ever stops. Like that. Nothing. It's all over. It's all around you. The continuous cycles of everything. But within this infinite universe, there is infinite realities. Because it's not so much that there's infinite space and there's infinite time, because those things don't exist. There's infinite realities. Because if you really pay attention, movement is not a possibility. We are consciousness moving through frames of still realities. And if you clear your mind and watch something that's moving, you could watch the trees, you could watch the water, you could watch a car, people walking. You can kind of get a sense of this, where nothing's actually moving. It's so hard to explain. There's nothing of itself moving. Your consciousness is moving through things. Sort of like in a video game, where an older video game, where your character that you're playing as isn't moving through a world. The world is moving past the character. The character stays in the same spot the whole time. Everything else is moving by it. Sort of a hard example. But anyway, nothing is moving. There's infinite realities versus infinite space. And you're always at the same point. You never move. You, with your mind, attract different infinite realities. But you never move, therefore nothing ever moves. Really. And when you think about it, it's like no matter where I move, no matter how I move, no matter where I go, my consciousness is still as conscious as it would be if I wasn't moving. My consciousness is ever existing and ever the exact same thing. I'm always just as conscious of being here as I ever was. And that's the unmoving point, and that's what you really are. Because without being conscious of being here, you could not have any experience at all. And therefore, nothing moves. So my point with this is there's infinite realities that we manifest, that we attract to ourselves via vibration, because the universe is different frequencies, different speeds, variations of the same light frequency. You know, like light is sped up sound. You have, if you've ever seen like the visible light chart, you have like, I'm not exactly sure, but you have, you know, like microwaves, radio waves, and it's all different versions of vibrating light. And that's everything, and that's been proven. Everything is a vibrating energy. That's scientifically proven. Therefore, if everything is a vibrating energy, nothing is solid, everything is illusory, and right now you can see in every single fucking movie that they try to put out the multiverse and all these realities coming together, and they're trying to put it right in your face, and this is part of the conditioning. They put it right in your face, the truth of reality, and they put it in something that seems so absurd, like a superhero movie, that it could never be real. And therefore you will dismiss it when somebody like me tells you about it, because you watched Doctor Strange and he did that, and it's like, well, that's so absurd that could ever be real. Genius. That's why there's a movie about it. These negative forces, these negative entities control everything and condition you to believe that you can't do anything. And my point with this is we came here specifically for that purpose, because there's not many other places in the universe where this is unknown, except on Earth, except where we are right now. And it's a valuable experience. And we came here, many of us, to actually we are not from here. We don't owe the world anything. We're not from the world. We're not from Earth. We're long, long, long before Earth. We're like the elves in Lord of the Rings. We're not from here. We came here to boost the planet, to help the planet. We came here to finally bring in a new era, to escort a new time to this planet, because we saw how conditioned everybody was. And we realized that there are no problems, there is no pain, there is no suffering. These things are illusions. And we came to show people that. And for a lot of us, it's not easy to just get what we want immediately, but you are supposed to be able to do that. That's how it works. Immediately you get what you want, as soon as you allow yourself to have it. That's just how it works. We've been conditioned to believe so hard that we are separated and powerless and victims. We believe it so hard that getting exactly what you want immediately is difficult. And that's why it is difficult, very purposefully. But you can break free from that. And it's not your fault that you can't get what you want immediately. It's supposed to be like that. It's not your fault. You can go ahead and blame that on whoever. Put that on the fucking people who control the world. You didn't come here for that bullshit. You came here to move past that, to move up, to be whatever you wanted. And that includes a billionaire. That includes a rock star. That includes an actor. A designer. A football player. Whatever really, really inspires you, that's what you came here to do. This is not about some, like, religion or some, when I say spirituality, that we're spiritual. That's not spiritual in the way that they've conditioned you to think spiritual is. Spiritual is everything that you've ever seen and that you've ever experienced. Spiritual is you right now. Spiritual is what you're thinking right now. It's everything. And we have limited it to these very condescending, corrupting, bending of the truth that they call churches and different religions. They call it religion. My point is, though, that you can have anything you want. Anything. And I can give you a technique right now. Very simple. Don't try it too hard. The whole point is for it to be easy, or else it doesn't work. It really should be as easy as, I have a desire. Let's say I want $1 million. I have a desire. I go, okay, that's what I want. All right, I have it. It's mine. And you give it to yourself. It's really like that. It really is. Technique to do this, because we're not able to do it that simply because we've been conditioned. The technique to do this is while you're going to bed, while you're falling asleep, when you're sort of in between waking and sleeping, you're sort of in a floaty state. You visualize that you already have what you want. So if you have a house, or you want a house, while you're going to sleep, you don't visualize the house, although you could. You need to visualize yourself already having the house and feeling that. What would it feel like if I already had this house? And you'll notice that you'll get really filled with joy and like, wow, this feels so good, just like if you had the thing. And if you fall asleep with that assumption that you already have the thing, you don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe you have it. Just enjoy feeling like you already have the thing. Fall asleep. You will get the thing. You don't have to figure out how you're going to get the thing. You don't have to try to get the thing. You're going to get the thing. Because that's how it works. It's supposed to be simple. It's supposed to be the mechanics of the universe. You're doing it right now. You're doing it every night when you go to sleep. But what you're doing is manifesting over and over and over again what you've already done, because you don't realize you can do this. And every night when you go to sleep, you replay your day. Or you think about something you didn't like during your day. Or you think about, and then that manifests the next day and the next week. And you keep doing that, and nothing ever changes, and your life seems to get worse. And you start to believe the conditioning, and you start to believe that you're separate and that you can't do anything, and that, and you know, on and on and on. And you're watching movies, and that's adding to it. And you're listening to music, and all music is detuned. Think about vibration, frequency. The entire musical scale is detuned to throw you off of your base frequency. Look it up. It's true. I've tested it. When you hear that 808 in rap music, boom, 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 in country music, that is throwing your bottom chakra off. Purposely. The music they play on the radio. You think that it's a coincidence that they play only certain old songs on the radio? You have a couple channels that play rap, pop, that actually play new music, and even then, they're very picky about it. If you notice what they play on the radio, you'll notice you're being conditioned, how you can't have what you want, how relationships suck, your heart's broken, whatever the fuck it is, they're trying to condition you. Drugs. This isn't a judgment. We're all here together. This is supposed to be an inspiration to anybody. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter if you have $0. You're homeless, you have $0, you have nothing to your name. You have absolutely nothing. Maybe you don't even have clothes. You can have anything you want. Just go to sleep. Take a minute, go to sleep. While you're falling asleep, feel as though you have everything you want. And just enjoy the feeling. Don't do it to get the thing. I mean, you are doing it to get the thing, but while you're doing it, while you're in that imaginal act, while you're trying to capture that feeling of what you want, enjoy that as if it was happening now. If it was happening now, you wouldn't be trying to get it, you'd be enjoying it as it is. And that's what you need to do. Enjoy it as it is. Fall asleep. Forget it the next day. Don't bring it back up. When is this going to happen? Is it going to work? Is it going to work? Just go, wow, that was a very enjoyable experience. Even if it doesn't work, that was an enjoyable experience. That was actually more enjoyable and made me feel a lot better than if I hadn't done it. Just feel into that. There's no fucking, a lot of times you hear spirituality and you hear new spirituality, like new age spirituality. It has a lot to do with Buddhism, being in the now, and all of that's great, but they have conditioned that as well. They have conditioned you to think that you must practice for years in order to become enlightened, and you must diet. You have to fast for 3 weeks. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has nothing to do with ritual or anything. You are God. You are. Whatever feels the best to you, you do it that way. You do it that way. If you don't want to do it a certain way, don't do it that way, and don't listen to that person who told you how to do it that way, including myself. Figure out your own way to do it. I'm just here to deliver some inspiration. I'm just here to get you inspired to be like, oh God, I can do anything. To get that power back inside you of what you have always been, what you're always doing. You just don't realize it because of the conditioners. And I'm going to speak a little bit more on that, on the people who are controlling the world, just because it's sort of a fun scenario that we're in. It's sort of like a epic adventure movie, like Star Wars, The Lord of the Rings. That's sort of exactly what's happening right now. We have a group. It's referred to as the Orion Group, I believe. I'm not too familiar with this, because the more I do, research into any of this kind of stuff, it sort of brings my vibration down, because it's pretty daunting, and you feel pretty powerless in the face of what's going on. But you're not, first of all. But it is fun to talk about. So you have the Orion Group, which is sort of like, in order to obtain free will, right, you have a group of spiritual beings who are part of sort of a galactic federation, like in Star Wars. It sounds pretty crazy, but it's literally, once again, I will remind you that we live in an infinite universe, and therefore everything has to be possible. Period. According to science. Everything that exists has to exist. Anything that can exist must exist. Anything that is fathomable, anything that your imagination can tap into is a reality, because without that reality being real somewhere, infinity wouldn't be infinite. Because infinity isn't just infinite space. It's not just infinite time. It's not just infinite grains of sand. It's not just infinite planets. It's infinite in all directions. It encompasses all. It's infinite everywhere. Everything. Simultaneously, and this is maybe a little bit advanced and don't get thrown off, but simultaneously, you are also the opposite of infinite, which is just like nothing, like absolutely blank nothingness. But true nothingness, in order to be nothingness, cannot be nothing, because then it would be something. If it was absolutely nothing, it would be something, and therefore from nothingness comes infinity, because nothingness must include everythingness in order to be nothingness, because nothingness, to truly be nothing, cannot just be nothing, because then it's something. It's a paradox, but that is what the world is. That is what everything is, a paradox. The Orion Group is a negatively oriented group of spiritual beings in different levels of consciousness throughout the universe. Here on Earth, some of them have swayed certain humans. Some of them are actually here. And some of them are just like manipulating humans. Some of them are possessing humans. Some of them are actually here in disguise. As far as a location as to where they are, I don't have that information, but I believe that they do have locations probably around the galaxy and universe, because they often send spaceships here. But anyway, just like you have this negatively oriented group, you must also have a positively oriented group, which is like the Galactic Federation, which does the opposite of what the Orion Group does. The Orion Group tries to sway the world negatively, while the Galactic Federation and different entities that are part of that try to sway the world positively. An example of this is pretty much every single piece of media that we consume is negatively oriented in some way, has been infected by the Orion Group. Now, that's not to say that everyone in Hollywood's evil, because, that doesn't make absolute... It would come out. There'd be too many people involved. So these people don't understand that they're putting out... let's say a Marvel movie comes out. The people who made the Marvel movie, 99% of them have no idea that they're making something that's negatively oriented. They are just trying to be creative. They're artists. The actors are trying to, do the best that they can, whatever it is. They're all artists, and that's all positively oriented. But maybe you have one executive, one person at the very top, who says, here is our agenda. Here's what needs to happen in this movie. And he makes the final say, and he puts things in that are going to condition you negatively. Right? And that's how it works. It's not that everyone who is making these things is involved in it. You more likely have one person, because it would make a lot more sense that way, and it would be a lot more smart. And these people who do this are smart. They're very intelligent, much more intelligent than us. I mean, we have infinite intelligence inside us, but we're not aware of it. They are. That's the difference. And they don't want us to be aware that we have this inside of us, and therefore the conditioning. Why do they not want us? Because they want everything for themselves, and that is the nature of the negative path, is greed and manipulation of others, service to self versus service to other people. And that's not to be confused with like selfishness, because everyone ultimately is selfish. But these people are actively and purposely trying to make the world a worse place. A better place for them, a worse place for everybody else. I don't have to go into, I don't want to go into too deeply into how we're all slaves. But, that seems pretty obvious to me. I don't feel I need to talk on that. I will say one thing about it, though. If you were, let's say back when there were slave owners, if you were a slave owner, the best way to keep a slave is to make sure the slave doesn't realize that he's a slave. The slave must believe that he is free in order to be an efficient slave. if you wanted a whole world of slaves, they must not know that they're slaves, because eventually they would revolt. They must not know that they're slaves. They have to think they're free. We live in the land of the free here in America. But, of course, we are actually free, but we're not free here in America at all. And I shouldn't have to explain that, I don't think. But anyway, we have positively oriented groups in the universe who do the same thing. And a lot of people on Earth right now, most people, are positively oriented. There's a lot less negative, and negative is a lot less powerful. But the reason that the positive seems not to be as abundant is because of the conditioning and because of the media and because you're watching that stuff. The conditioning, I do want to say, the conditioning goes very, very deep and very, very far. And everything, history is completely conditioned, completely fake, completely falsified. They don't teach anything true. Everything they teach you in school is to condition you to believe that you're not all-powerful God. That's its only purpose. It's not education. It's 100% conditioning in order to make a slave society. That's all it is. Now, the people who are teaching, the teachers, don't know this. Therefore, they are trying to better the youth. The people who are actually active in the schools, the teachers and the principals, and those people, in some cases, are actually trying to better society and better the youth, prepare them. But as you know, if you went to school, they didn't teach you anything. They never taught you anything. I mean, it's different. It's a little different in college. But they do still. I went to college. They did condition you a whole lot. I know that. But my point with this is, you can have anything you want instantaneously. And that's where we need to get to. And the only reason that it is difficult, don't get discouraged, because it's not your fault that it's difficult. You are very, very old. Your spirit is very, very old. It's a lot older than this planet. It's a lot wiser than your current association with yourself. And it can manifest stuff instantly. You can already do this. You do it all the time, like I was saying. But yeah, so don't get discouraged if it feels very difficult at first and it feels like it's not the truth of reality. That's not you. That's the conditioning. That's the negatively set beings that are very, very powerful. Now, we might be more powerful than them, but only if we know that. You know? But the beautiful thing about this is you can sit in the woods and relax and clear your mind, and none of that exists. None of it exists. You're here resting before anything even existed. Your consciousness is before the Big Bang. You are outside of time if you wish to rest there. You're simultaneously, whatever we are, billions of years inside of the universe. And you're simultaneously before anything ever existed. Because if you rest with your consciousness, you are nothing. You are nothing. You don't exist at all. It's all imagined. But that's a beauty, because it's simultaneous. You will always exist, and you will always not exist. That's why death doesn't exist, because it's already here. You're already as dead as you're going to get, and alive as you're going to get. So, take inspiration from that. Take inspiration from that. You can't die, fuck it. You can't fucking die. You're never going to die. You're never going to die. There's not a single thing you have to worry about. Not a single thing you have to worry about. You can't die. We're not here to survive and make money. Those things are great, and you can desire those things. But they're simply manifestations of yourself that you enjoy. And that's it. You're already where you need to be completely, which is traveling the universe as a soul, having all these experiences. And you can, at any point, you can opt out. At any point, you can opt out and rest as your consciousness, and you don't have to be here. And then at any point, you can come back in and be here and help and try and manifest things and work on yourself and make the world a better place and get rid of this negative orientation. But if it gets too much, you just have to come in the woods and sit down. If you can't come to the woods, you can do it anywhere. You don't have to be in the woods. You can do it anywhere. The woods just happen to be a peaceful place for me. And very beautiful. Look at this shit. It's a nice spot. I'm lucky enough to have this next to my house. There's so many things to touch on. There's an infinite amount of things to touch on. And there's an infinite amount of things to talk about. And that's amazing. But I think I gotta end this. Because nothing's coming to me right now. But there's so much depth to it. There's so much. It's insane. And it's awesome because it's not this boring existence that we have here. This linear, normal, what they've conditioned us to think it is. That's not what it is. It's a Star Wars movie, except infinitely more awesome. Anything you can imagine is happening right now. And it's all over. It's everywhere. Anything could happen to you at any point. Anything. We cannot fathom that. We can't fathom the infinite amount of opportunities that are everywhere at every second. But you're not supposed to fathom that either, you're not supposed to understand that. That's how it is. Take comfort in that.